We on now. There we go.
All right.
So if y'all don't know, now you know. This is the Spirit Speak show, and during this episode, you got myself, River Jones, your mental health coach, building the business in the midst of homelessness. We'll talk more about that later. Today, I want to introduce you to our co-host. If you would introduce yourself.
I'm Napua. No. Can we start over?
We could.
The guards was talking to me right when you started talking. I was trying to answer her, and I was trying to listen to you, and then you said that, and I stopped like,
That's perfect. It's cool.
Hold on.
These are the moments we live for. I think this is what people are going to enjoy the most, actually. So like, oh, this is real life. This is not a stage. Nope.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, so if you could introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Napua Nelson. I am also building a business from Pierce County Jail. We'll, again, talk more about that later on in life. But Spirit Speaks. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to let our spirit speak.
And today's topic is love. Are we ready for
I don't know. I'm always ready for love. I love love.
Oh, my goodness, you sound like me, because I'm just like, I hate the term hopeless romantic because it sounds so desperate and sad, but I'm definitely romantic, and I'm definitely constantly being sure that that's an active part of my life. There's going to be some love.
Yes.
No matter what I'm going.
Very conscious of all the different types of love,
Ooh.
Like, I'm very, I don't know, giving when it comes to my love.
Right.
I'm not sure if I'm great at taking it, but giving it, for sure.
So what's up on the receiving end? Let's talk about this. Because I've had some experience being all the way good with giving, but don't give me nothing. I'm good. Like, I've been there. But from you personally, why? What is that about? Let's talk about it.
Oh my gosh, you've known me for so long, so this might even like be a little iffy for you to hear from me.
Okay.
But when it comes to love and me giving it and not being great at taking it, I think it's my need to not expect something back, right? Like, I'm so willing and wanting to give love to people however they need it, but I also understand that they can't love me how I need to be loved, without like time and energy and lessons put into that, right? And so I am just very conscious of that all the time, right? I know that I pay attention to give people what they need in those ways and have to be okay knowing that I probably won't get it back, right? And so I put myself to a point to just expect not to, so that I don't have to be let down at any point.
That sounds like high expectations of yourself and low expectations for everyone else.
Well, kind of, yep.
like that sounds like you might very well have a hard time forgiving yourself if you don't get it right. Like, are there rooms? Are there rooms? Is there space for you to, let's say, you forgot, like, oh man, they like this for dinner, but you forgot to add that to dinner. Do you beat yourself up about that, or are you just like, okay, but I'm gonna get it right next time? Like, what are your like, do you deal with yourself? Like, so are you self-critical about the way you love? Like, does it have to be perfect?
No, because I don't think that it can be. I don't think that love can be perfect. I think that there's so many different things that different people need when it comes to love that I'm not always going to get it right,
Right.
But I want to, right? I want to see what you need, what makes you smile, what makes you laugh, what makes you comfortable. Those things, like you say, like the little things when it comes to dinner. I don't necessarily beat myself up when it comes to not doing it, or if I do forget today, right? But I just try to be as consistent as I possibly can when it comes to those little things, right? To let them know consistently I
Yeah.
am showing as much as I can, and sometimes I might not be able to,
Yeah.
and I have, I guess, in the past beat myself up about things like that, but I can't
See.
continue to do that. But I think it is something about high expectations. I just,
Mhm.
even though I have those high expectations, I also understand that even though I have them, they might not always be met.
Right. Right. Now I have a similar thought, but a little. I think I do get self critical. Like for real, I'm like, yo, why didn't I get that right?
Why?
And
Why do
some
you get self-critical?
because it's like it's stuff. It's not stuff that I'm learning for the first time. Like okay, for me, I can be really selfish with love. Where like I want what I want out of the relationship. Period. Right. But if you tell me you need something, even if I'm like not in position to provide it, I'll find a way. However, if you need something that means I don't get what I want, I have a hard time giving it. I'm still gonna find a way, find a balance.
That
For
sounds selfish.
it is. Oh, I know. I am very aware. Yeah, it is. It don't just sound selfish. It is. This this the deal though. Like I have a thing, and this is just an example. Like where I like to show up unannounced or call at random. I kind of expect like if you're not available, you're not available for you to say that. But if we together, like I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't want company, just let me know. Now's not a good time. It's a little harder if I'm physically showing up at your door, yes, but over the phone, just don't answer it, right? Well, my love is just like, yo, don't do me like that. Like shoot me a text. And I'm like, she's like, yo, this could be disruptive. You know what I mean? Like this could really be disruptive at times, and I could be obsessive too. So I have to be mindful. Like if I get a break in between work, I'm like, let me check in. How you doing? You know, like
Well,
I'm quick.
why do you think you're like that though? What do you think made you
Um,
be
oh,
so aggressive in those ways? Because that's what it is. I think is
mhm.
aggressive in your love.
Yeah,
It's not a bad thing, but it is aggressive.
there's a negative perspective of that, and there's a positive. By negative and positive, I mean like there's a toxic reason, and then there's a healthy reason,
Yeah. So
and I let them both win. You know, reason enough for me. But I've been doing better. But the toxic reason I'll cite there. Me being so disconnected from family, like one, yes, moving from Washington to Georgia, don't know
This
the
call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring.
it is, and we will explain why another day, another time. So being disconnected from family in another state, like it does put me in a space like a disadvantage of that type of like intimate love. You know what I mean? Where you're just kind of surrounded by folks who are you're familiar with on another level. You know, so having a love life helps with that for sure. Feeling that familiarity of relationship and the care and consideration, but it's also a little toxic because of that, right? It's like this needing to fill this void kind of thing. So that's why it's toxic. Now, on the healthy end, I'm very protective, and I think this is a healthy thing. I know it could sound crazy, but I want to make sure you're good. Like, if you go missing, I should be the first one to know something ain't right with where you are or what's happening in your day. And then I could call the siblings and your parents and all of that. Like, if you're my person, I feel like I should be point A emergency contact. Like that's my idea of relationship, of just being that kind of. We don't have to be tied at the hip, but if you're going to be gone for 10 hours, it should not be a surprise, right? I should be very aware of what's happening.
yeah.
That connection matters.
I
Yeah.
guess I can understand that in some ways, you know. Um, but for me, I guess it's more of a I don't want to have to ask, right? If I have to
Mm.
ask where you're at, then I'm already irritated.
It
You know what I mean?
should
Like
be
I am already
volunteered.
irritated. Like why do I have to ask? Like like you said, if you're my person, um, I don't know. I guess in that growth to becoming my person, you learn certain things about people, the things they like to do, the things they want to do. You learn their schedules. So by the time that you are my person, there's certain things that I shouldn't have to ask. I'm not if I have to pop up on you, if I call and you don't answer and I feel like I need to pop up, I'm not going to pop up. I might not answer when you call.
Right. Because you know what? Part of that too is like for me, I agree with that for the fact that I will fix my schedule in a way where I'm available for the relationship. I make room for it. And so I'm not going to schedule my whole day around it, but I will make myself available. And so I do need to be aware of the schedule in order for us to merge where we can, especially in an entrepreneur. Like, things can there's no real set schedule. It's like, things can get out of hand where I'm researching and studying and doing stuff that really doesn't have a time constraint, I would say. Yeah. It's a free flow situation and can be endless. So I will put a limit on that and take a 30-minute, hour, 2-hour break and check in, depending on what's happening, what time of day, all that kind of stuff. So
easier for me because, we live together. So those things I don't have to worry about. I know when you're coming home from work or when I'm coming home from work, or, you know that I'm downstairs at my desk studying or working on whatever. You know what I mean? So there's those things I don't have to worry about so much. But like I said, in those times to becoming that person, to get to the point where we're in the same household, I think I might be a little obsessive too, which probably is not very healthy. Let me not go ahead and advertise that that's healthy. That's probably not healthy, but this is my reality.
This is my current experience, which is interesting. What is love life of the situation now that the environment has changed?
What situation?
Yeah. How's the dynamic? How do you keep it sparked? Yeah.
I think it's just all about communication.
Yeah.
And trying to understand. You know what I mean? That things are different. When you have certain types of relationships with people, and not even just like my wife. With people in general, like my mother. When you have certain types of relationships with people, you give those people certain things, right? You do something for those people, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So the situation ends up being if, let's say, I'm not having a good day, right? But I call on the phone and I act like nothing's wrong, right? Then that shows in my tone of voice, right? So my mom's going to know something's wrong, right? But she might not want to ask because she doesn't want me to worry, right?
Right.
And I'm probably not telling her because I don't want her to worry. It's the same thing, right? So it all comes back to the communication, on every level, being able to be honest and be okay with that honesty and understand that, we might not always click with how we feel or what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I might be having a great day in here and the fucking world could be crashing out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you have to be able to take the time to understand and see things. And so, I'm grateful and blessed to have people in my life who are willing to go those lengths with me.
Right. And you spoke on something earlier too about different types of love. What are the types of love that are active in your life right now? Are you mean giving love in different types of ways?
Yeah. And I am always active, I think, on almost every level when it comes to love. And when you say what are those types, I guess I never thought of them with names,
Right.
I think more of the type of love that I have for my mom isn't the type of love that I have for my sister, right? It's not just family love for me. It's not on one thing.
Ooh,
The
you
type of love
can't.
for my wife isn't the type of love that I have for my kids. You know what I mean? It's all a different level, yeah, but I don't know if I have an actual word to express that there's different types of love, like my best friends or I have a lot of people in my life that have been here for a long time that I don't really call friends, that I call them family. Or, like my baby's mom, there's different levels to how I express my love. And
That's interesting.
I don't know if it's something easily explained.
Right.
How about you? Do you also see things like that and the different types of love, the different levels of it?
I mean, I've never used the concept of, just not really consciously anyway, the concept of the different love that I have for different people and the titles that they have in my life rather than just as a unit, my love for my family versus the person I'm intimate with, I do know, love for your children, it can be more disciplinary, I've had God kids all the way up until this current pregnancy. So, I have had more of a distant connection because I don't have as much say so on, how they're protected, how they're educated, how they're guided. You know what I'm saying? So I understand that that's a different type of love. It's more of a disciplinary love, or more, you know what I mean? Like, more guidance, whereas the freedom and the flexibility in other relationships, even like with my mother and her husband. Can you imagine? I love this man, and he has done me dirty, but he's also.
I love that man, and I also have a very strong dislike for him. Well, I don't know if I can say that I love him anymore, but at one point I did. At one point I really seemed like an uncle, but after all of the craziness,
I get
I don't
it.
know. Look, I like to say while we're on the subject of love, I like to say that my love doesn't go in vain. Right? And what I mean by that is no matter who I love or how I love them, right, love changes and it grows and it dies.
This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring.
And so when I say that my love doesn't go in vain, I mean that if I ever loved someone, that love isn't going to go away, right? I'm not taking back the love that I gave you. It just means that maybe now I can't love you the same way, right?
Right.
Or even to the point of now I don't love you anymore, but that doesn't mean that I didn't love you. That doesn't mean that love that I had for you then is irrelevant, right? I'm not taking that love back. I'm just telling you that now that love doesn't suit me anymore. That love doesn't work for me anymore, and unless you're willing to change with me, then we're going to have to move on. Right? That's what I mean by my love doesn't go in vain. I don't know.
No, I felt that. That's lit. Because a lot of times if the love changes, people do dismiss what was as if it's irrelevant. And that's mind-blowing to me because my love doesn't operate that way. And I could say I can love this person, who abused me because there is more to them than that moment, that experience that we had. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking of the whole person when I say that. I'm not saying that I appreciate it and if it happens again, it's not that big of a deal. That's not what I'm saying by any means. You know what I'm saying? But some people would think that way. They really do. They perceive it as well, it must not have really happened, or there's no way, you can. Just be honest. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. It's interesting because I've had these conversations with folks, and so I just stopped talking about it honestly and just, kept it between me and God. Prayed about it, for peace of mind about it. But what I can say is that, just because you disagree or, experience somebody having ill will and things of that nature, that doesn't mean that's who they are. A lot of times we define people by, an experience, and we forget that they're a whole human being outside of this event, and there were things that led up to them behaving in such a way. And that's not to excuse it, but for me, it's an allowance for the love to exist, So there's a care, and there's a desire for healing where it seems impossible. There's a desire to forgive the unforgivable because of it. So,
in ways, what you just said, I feel like it's almost a reason to love because
you have 1 minute left.
To that point, Again, we'll explain why this happens, but
that part.
I'm calling.
All right.
The caller has hung up. Press 2. If you would like to permanently block your number from receiving calls from this facility, press 6. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
All right, we are back to round 2. But you were speaking and it interrupted you with our 1 minute message.
Yeah. To tap in on that real quick before we get back to this conversation about love, you guys can Google it. I am incarcerated right now at Pierce County Jail. For now, that's all I'm going to give you. Later on, once I am formally sentenced, we can get a little more into it. You guys can ask questions and we'll go from there. But for now, you'll have to deal with this lady always saying that she's recording us and hear my 1 minute warning. So bear with us. Bear with us. But we were talking a little bit about love and how we see it, and this is something I could probably talk about for hours. You know,
Right.
I'm a little different, I guess, when it comes to love. Um, in that way, like I said, of always wanting to give it because I do. Side note, feel like love is the purpose of life, right? Like I feel like everything that we do, everything that happens, is always because of love, right? Every
Mm-hmm.
decision that we make is because of love. You know, love of something, love of someone, whatever the case.
Eating food would be love of self, yeah?
Yes, I love food.
I love eating the food, I do. But the love for food is definitely different than love for people. And then for you, do you want to get into the intimate preferences as far as who and what and how you are attracted to a being?
Man, I don't know how to answer this question. I'm not sure if it was a question, but I still don't know how to answer it, and I think that says a lot. Like,
I mean,
I do
what
have
are
a
you
wife, right?
do?
So I guess that tells everybody enough, right? I'm taken. It is sorry, but like in general, I don't know how to answer this question. I guess with all these labels in the world these days, I like to put myself in this category under no label. But we recently talked about not fitting into a box. So how
Oh,
about you? What what
yes.
do you?
I'm gonna second the fact that we definitely do. Yes, we need to create a box, and we need to just add it on to the LGBTQ and the additional X, Y's, and Z's. Um,
Yes, we
I'm
do
definitely
need a new box.
I'm somewhere in that X, Y, and Z. So I've been given quite a few titles that sometimes fit me, and then other days they don't. So it's interesting. I would go as sapiosexual. I'm very attracted to mental stimulation. Like you have my mind, you didn't want half the battle of having me. You know what I'm saying? Like we can have an conversation, and you can teach me something, and you're also willing to listen to my experiences, and you're just as intrigued and interested, and we have similar interests in that way, where we can have fun in the learning. Yeah, I'm with it. Like I want a learning partner because I'm a nerd, and having a nerd partner is very, feels powerful. Like yes,
Yeah,
I'm like, be
it
weird
is.
with.
It's great.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. And then the other thing is like I've been given the title as a STEM, a stud and femme, but I'm never all the way studded or all the way femmed. There's always things about the femme and the stud that just it's not constant, so like I could be wearing a dress and my armpits are not shaved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I guess I'm an extremist. Like I'm either like super super hard fit or super hard stud. Like, but that's still only what the appearance comes to.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I guess I've always kind of seen you when it comes to appearance as like a soft stud because you always like play the lines. Like you said, like you could have a dress with your armpits not shaved, or like you'll have
Like
on like
I,
a button up and a tie, but your makeup will be done. Like like first off, love it. Oh my gosh, you're fly.
thank you. I don't get that
You're
often.
so fly. You are.
Yes.
But I don't know. I don't know. This is why we don't fit into a box. And this is why I can't fit into a box because I know that I look like a stud, Like
Yeah.
everybody calls me a stud, like everybody calls me a lesbian, and I don't really care what people call me, because I know what I do and don't like or what I will and won't. Fly.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
busy.
comfortable looking like a stud, but I don't think that all of the other things fit into the stud box. Only the appearance.
For I I wanted to mention the fact that like I told you I'm visiting my great grandfather. He's 89 years old and whole deacon at the church New Covenant and whatnot. You know what I mean? So shout out to the Hilltop and our churches there. But I had a conversation with him the other day, and he asked me like, about he said so when you had a relationship with a woman, that would be considered homosexuality, right? I'm like, yeah, that's what it would be considered. I think the term sounds very foul, but we'll go with it because that is how it's identified in some parts of communication. And then he's like, okay, so do you you're pregnant. I'm like, yes, that is correct. He said, so do you have a preference of a man or a woman? And the preference part threw me off because I'm like, yo, that's cold. That is cold right there for me.
This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring.
It makes me have to think about it because I've never been in a relationship with a man where I'm able to be all parts of myself and him be just as confident, comfortable, and attracted to me. But I've also been with women who aren't attracted to all sides of me either. And so this is the first time that I've been with a woman who is actually attracted, like the same attraction that she has when I'm studded out, same attraction she has when I'm femmed up. You know what I mean? So like that experience has allowed me to have a preference, but not so much for gender, just for her. You know what I'm saying? So I'm curious, do you have a preference?
We're talking about love. I prefer love because that's the only answer
You
that
know,
I have.
okay.
I just prefer love. Like, I just want to love. And I don't know, I've had experiences where I, like, truly was in love with a man and, multiple men actually. But those men even, well, a couple in particular, they've accepted me for how I walk out the house, Like, I'm going to put your shorts on, when we leave the house. Like, and I can only be grateful that they accepted me for who I am. So
right.
When it comes to preference, I don't think it comes to a gender thing. I think it comes to an energy thing for me.
Right.
Like you said, you're attracted to like wine. Like it's an energy thing for me. It's how we vibe, how we get along, how we mesh. Like I don't know.
I love that. Yeah, because I just desire now that I know it's possible, because I used to just deny it. Like, no one's going to love all sides of me. They're just too different. But that's not true. If I, and not even if, once I begin to love all of who I am and not hide it, I literally, I would say attracted, but I was able to meet someone who also the same, who also loved me for all of who I was, and it wasn't different. It was, so I have more love for this version of you, so that's really what I'm attracted to as well, just the energy being consistent as far as, and we talked about this too, love not being able to be somewhat consistent because it changes, flows, but the love being just as authentic and real, genuine.
Yeah. And that even comes into a different, like you were mentioning, like all parts of you, and that made me think about like my wife and how she accepts all parts of me. But when I say that word, all parts of me, it means something different than it means to most other people in the world. You know what I mean? Like, she's had to learn every person in my head rather than just the different moods I have that day. She's not just loving the studded side of me or the femme side of me. She's loving completely different people inside of me, and that is a whole different level of love for me.
So that's loving multiple people, in one body. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's a conversation for another day.
I mean,
the mental health, huh?
Matters. Yes, we will add that to our mental health piece. But it's beautiful to know, especially for those who are dealing with still trying to accept all of their many personalities, especially if you're experiencing blacking out and sometimes not really being able to recollect conversations or activities you've done for the day because you were not yourself per se. You were a different version of yourself. And it matters to be able to speak on that. So thank you for even sharing. And it also matters to be, have someone active in your life, even if it's just one person who can love you for all of who you are and every one of who you are. That is a whole other level of love. Yeah, it's a more. You have to extend yourself you can't just get used to. I mean, you can't just get used to one flow anyway with a single person, right? Because we change and our habits are different, and as we grow, adjustments may happen, which means the love's got to look different because we may not want the same things we desired years ago.
Yeah, like we were talking about my expectations and how you think I have a lot of expectations for myself and none for other people. And I guess that's part of the reason why. That I know that I can give these people love. I know that there's a part of me that can understand different people in different ways, right? But I also understand that it's really hard for people to even understand that there's so many different parts of me, let alone try to love them.
Mm. Mm. That
That's
is. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah. The reality of for real. Do you find it like when it comes to the falling in love versus okay, we're here, we're in love, that whole journey and experience, are there parts of that experience that you think are just sweeter than other parts? Is there certain certain parts of the timeline of love that you favor?
Yes, actually. So my favorite part of love, um, first off, it reoccurs. I'll get into that in a second. But my favorite part is not the initial like falling in love, like honeymoon phase, right? There's a point where you fall in love and you get into that honeymoon phase and then you get over it, right?
Right.
And then once you get over it, there's always a point where you start to question that love, right? And that's my favorite part. My favorite part is when we start to question it, right? Because then
you better explain that, but go ahead, continue.
because then, like when you start to question it, when we both start to question this love, it's going to test its durability, right? You're going to start to understand the real reasons why that other person loves you, and you're going to question yourself, and you're going to, either get to that point of being content with the reasons why you love that person and continue to be able to love that person, or you're going to get to a point where you see that that person needs something different, right? But that stage is a learning stage of love, and that's my favorite part, right? Just like in the beginning of love, when you're falling in love, right, you're learning about that person, right? But that's really a honeymoon phase. That's learning, like surface things about that person to me, right? Because they say like once you move in together or once you have a kid together, right? There's certain things in life that you have to experience together in order for the love to grow into something else, right? And once that love grows into something else, and you start to question it. That's when
This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring.
That's when I feel like I'm at my best, and that's what I mean by it reoccurring, because you get to a point where you question it, and then you're like, okay, I still want to love this person, right? I might have to do it a little different, now, but I want to love this person. And so after you make those necessary changes, right, and time goes on, it happens again. You get to question it again, like, what am I doing here? You get to tell yourself again, and it keeps happening throughout a relationship.
Right.
And I love that.
I love that you brought that up. I wasn't even thinking of that as like a phase of those transitions of like strengthening the love. I would say for me it's like the falling in love all over again, like the reminders of like why I committed to this. Like, oh snap, you really are my person, like those moments. I'd be excited to kind of get past the beginning stages because those are always awkward for me, and I'm just like ready to figure out, do you really want me or not, so I can, figure out if I'm here to stay or to go. And it's kind of crazy, so I've been trying my best to like get out of the rushing it, because that can cause so much tension and somebody trying to be in a relationship with me because there's no pacing, there's no free flow. I'm just like observing and trying to figure it out. Do you want it or not? Okay, we get married or not? You know what I mean?
I think me and you were talking about this recently, and we talked about just like being patient and trying to appreciate that time rather than rushing.
Yeah, because I'd be quick. I'd be like, come on, let's get married. If I'm happy here, you happy here. What's the wait? Yeah. Well,
Oh,
is the
chill
learning,
out.
and letting it come in a way where it's not forced at all, but it's just like it's not a question. When you pop the question, it shouldn't be a question, and that's my honest belief. Especially after learning what I've learned recently in our conversations, privately about how to move. We're gonna have a whole session on how to love a Cancer, okay? Because you helped me, I think you're gonna help somebody else, okay? Shout out to July 17th babies in the house, okay? Woo woo, not saying no. But yeah, I'm like thankful for being able to have that moment with you because if y'all don't know, this is my best man, so there it is. And I'm definitely in like a position to be more patient for the fact of like I've been able to realize with your help, like of course, the value of the patience, and especially dealing with people who, if they're rushed in any sort of way, it'll run them away. That's the opposite
And
direction.
here we are, always so quick to do something.
Yeah,
Scaring them away.
See, like there's so much joy that comes of the preparation for a marriage when you've already established the marriage relationship without the paperwork and the ring and the proposal and the celebration with all the other people. Before the party, let's really already have established that level of commitment to each other, to where we're already married in love before we're married in legalities,
Because it's a lot of things you have to commit to be with somebody, and continue to choose them over and over every day as they grow and as things change, that is what it's all about. The paperwork isn't going to mean anything if one day it changes. And I mean, once again, I reference my love not going in vain, because I also understand that if one day our love gets to a point that it's no longer suitable for you and it no longer makes you happy, then I have to accept that and be able to still say I love you, so I can let you go.
Exactly, because love isn't hold nobody in bondage, that's for sure. So yeah, sometimes people think it's love when you hold on to something for the sake of the title and what it's quote unquote supposed to look like, but that's bondage. Yeah, love is that feeling, it's that expression, it's the experience, not the title. So yeah, I do believe that love will let you go when it's time. And I've been in I'm not gonna get into it today, but I've been in polyamorous relationship before too, and those relationships were quite interesting. They taught me a lot about loving freely, and also a lot about what I truly desired in love. And I do desire monogamy more than I do.
You have 1 minute left.
So yeah, there's that. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. This is us. This is our spirit speaking. You guys have a lot to look forward to. If you guys have anything you want us to talk about, go ahead and comment.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to. How about you?
That is that. I'm grateful for this. Yeah, y'all share this out and drop in the comments any questions for either one of us or the both of us as a whole. We're looking forward to keeping this going. Yeah.
Talk very soon.
Yes. I love you dearly. You have a great evening, and yeah, I'll let you soon.
I love you too, yo.
Peace.
The caller has hung up.